Okay, I'm just gonna see, is it still doing that? Okay, it is. Alright. Take two. So my game is titled, oh, it's loading, Harmit Crabs, presented by me, Rutger Volkema. Harmit Crabs is a 2D platformer that is focused on combat. It revolves around the story of a crab named Indigo looking for revenge after a crab named Doomland, who is in charge of a group of bandits, steals the suit of armor that Indigo is interested in. I named the two. Indigo is just some gender-neutral name. It's a color, and Doomand, being his mortal enemy, is a paint remover. I took the name from a paint remover. Within this story, animals can magically tune to armor for combat purposes, increasing their strength and fighting capabilities. Play through this game in any suit that you're most comfortable in, and defeat Doomand in Indigo's epic story. Some of the explanation of suits. Each suit has a different combination of stats, and you'll find stronger suits as you progress throughout the game. The stats are weight, which affects speed and jump, density, which affects defense, vitality, which affects health, resilience, which is a resistance to an element type, and impact, which affects strength. Each suit has its own unique special move, along with passive abilities such as decreased damage taken while stationary. These suits can be taken from each level boss, and you can go back to repurchase any you passed up on in each world hub. Some of the different suits. The Suit of Soul comes with passive fire resistances, along with a special radiant attack that ignores 25% of the enemy's armor. The Suit of the Self-Contained Underwater Breathing Apparatus, or the Suit of Scuba, comes with a special flood attack, along with a complete immunity to the water element. The Suit of Shining Armor is an earlier suit that allows the player to execute a ranged attack in the form of Lance, and grants the passive ability of increased defense when low on health. I've created around 20 more suits other than these three. The types of enemies being faced. There are lower level crab enemies, although not all of them are crabs, in most levels, but later on, there will also be a medium level enemy as well. Each level also comes with a boss. In special themed levels, there will be enemies themed in the same way. For example, in Arctic worlds, seals, instead of crabs, are the lower level enemies, and one of the bosses in particular is a walrus named Wallace Hailcaller. What's my favorite enemy? I've created an enemy named Billy the Squid, who is an outlaw who uses all 8 arms to carry a revolver. The AI art couldn't really represent that much. Um, he's based on Billy the Kid, who was a cow thief. Billy the Squid, however, is going to be stealing manatees, which are also known as the cows of the sea. Where does the story take us? First are the beach levels. These levels take place on, not surprisingly, the beach. Immediately following the beach, Indigo travels to the icy tundra to battle Arctic-themed foes. After Indigo finds himself needing to chase Doomand through time, he travels to the Old West to the medieval ages, to the creation of the planet, towards a flooded future, and even to an alien invasion before the player moves on to the prequel levels that involve the player playing as the king of the world and his quest of conquering the countries in hopes of discovering how it was done so that Indigo can defeat Doomand. Next, Indigo goes to the fantasy levels, where he defeats different classes that can be found in the stereotypical adventuring party. Finally, Indigo goes to Doomand's base and defeats his strongest comrades before finding Doomand himself. The little art at the bottom, it's quite simple. The yellow represents the beach, the cool, icy color represents the tundra, the green, for time travel, it's supposed to represent the Rick and Morty portals. The red is conquering, it involves the prequels. Pink is fantasy levels. And the blue are Doomand levels. I just couldn't find a color for Doomand because typically I associated him with red, where red's more so the king thing. Just a little bit of world building. Some years prior, the king of the world had gone around conquering each and every land he came across in order to become the ruler of it. In addition, most crabs worship a nature spirit named Elise, who's the symbol of the moon being an important figure because of its effect on the tide. Power, political power, is determined by the person's ability to fight. One of the most powerful groups of people is Doomand's group of bandits, becoming stronger and stronger as the story progresses. An explanation of the user interface. What I envision the UI to look like is listed on the next slide. The larger red bar represents the health, the blue bar represents the stamina of the player, the yellow circle will represent cooldowns and will slowly decrease until the special attack is ready once more. In the upper left are active quests for the player to follow and track. By using that little Windows button on the Xbox controller, it will open up the map, and the adjacent button is typically used for pausing in inventories. RT will be used for an elemental, and to backdash or dodge, it's going to be LT. You can also dash using the B button, combined with a like direction used by the D-pad or the joystick to move. The main attack, which is the weaker melee attack, is X. The sub attack will be Y, and then you can obviously jump. This is the photo of the user face that I envisioned. Once again, in the upper left, it's quest tracking. The blue bar represents stamina, which can be used for heavy attacks and dashing. Red represents the health. That's a bit obvious. And then the yellow circle represents the cooldown of the special attack. Thank you. Any questions, Eli? Any more questions?
Uh,
Just anything about my game.
Crab stuff.
Um,
What does? Are there any? Are there any suits that you plan to add, but just haven't been able to add yet?
there are plenty of suits that I have not found a proper boss for, such as the suit of soul, for example. I don't have a boss that pairs with it. The suit of scuba, uh, I know what level it goes to. Obviously, it's the floods level, but I don't necessarily know what boss it would accompany with. I know a medium level enemy would that would be in that level. Her name is Eloise, and it's an eel that does sparking attacks. But I don't necessarily understand the just the second thing that the boss does. The boss obviously has the suit, but typically what I like to do is add a second thing.
Okay.
For example, Wallace Hailcaller, he has the suit, he's got blizzard abilities and stuff, but he also has slower movement, increased strength. That's just his base thing. There's a pufferfish that moves around pretty quickly, but when it's lower on health, it stands still, it expands, and every time you hit it with a melee attack, you take damage as well.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I like adding second things with my suits. I've got the suit, I know where it belongs. I just don't quite have the second thing for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
All right. Nice.
Arigato.